Well, yes, it was a busy day in Parliament. The opposition parties closed ranks against the government over the recent border clashes in China. The revelation was made yesterday after multiple reports brought out a skirmish in Arunachal Pradesh. Here's what happened. Last Friday, Chinese troops carried out an incursion into Indian territory. They attempted to cross the line of actual control near the Yangtze border post in Tawang of Arunachal Pradesh. It was a bid to change the status quo along the eastern sector of the LAC. These Chinese soldiers were resisted by Indian troops deployed in the area, as per the statement of the defense minister in Parliament. It led to a physical altercation between the two sides. Both Indian and Chinese soldiers suffered minor injuries, after which the situation de-escalated. Soon after, commanders from China and India carried out a flag meeting to restore the status quo. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh made a statement to this effect on the border clash in Parliament. Let's listen in.
9 दिसंबर 2022 को पीएलए ट्रुप्स ने तवांग सेक्टर के यांगसे एरिया में लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल पर अतिक्रमण कर स्टेटस को एक तरफा बदलने का प्रयास किया। चाइना के इस प्रयास का हमारी सेना ने दृढ़ता के साथ सामना किया है, अध्यक्ष महोदय, और इस फेस ऑफ में हाथापाई भी हुई है। भारतीय सेना ने बहादुरी से पीएलए को हमारी टेरिटरी में अतिक्रमण करने से रोका और उन्हें उनकी पोस्ट पर वापस जाने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया, अध्यक्ष महोदय।
Joining me here on the program is Major General Dr. Dwivedi, retired Professor of International Relations and Strategic Affairs. Very good evening, sir. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you here on the program.
My pleasure.
General Dwivedi, your concerns here when you hear, this entire sequence of events, because we are seeing a pattern, there is a Chinese provocation, then there is a statement that comes out which talks about disengagement and talks on the part of the commanders from both sides. But yes, we do know that, there can't be a full disclosure that is never made. What do you make of the current circumstances along the LAC in Arunachal Pradesh?
Well, firstly, let me share with you that China's system, which is very opaque and also very centralized, nothing happens until there is a concurrence or clearance from the very top. And it's especially so with the PLA, because PLA is the army of the party and it is directly controlled by Central Military Commission, which is headed by the president himself. So therefore, such actions have definitely been cleared at the very high level, and they cannot be attributed to the local commanders per se. Secondly, one must understand as to what is the China's grand design. Chinese never accepted the McMahon line nor the line of actual control as per them.
Yes.
This is a flexible and it can be changed whenever the opportunity so arises. And they have been always doing that, trying to change the status quo. And that's exactly happened in 2020. But the point I'd like to make here, after we signed the 1993 and 1996 agreement, there was a certain amount of stability on the LAC. And I won't say that there was peace, but there was no tension. But after President Xi Jinping took over in 2012, he has been very, very aggressive. And so also the PLA. And we had series of instances which will actually define the pattern. In 2013, we had Depsang. 2014, when Xi Jinping was in India, we had Chumar, then we had Doklam. And of course, in 2020 May, 3 divisions of Chinese came into eastern Ladakh. And I happened to command my battalion in this area, and of course, in Arunachal Pradesh, command my division. So I can give you a very close perspective. And besides that, I was defense stash in China. So I read the Chinese mind very, very closely. So coming to Tawang instance, the Chinese pattern was somewhat similar. What happened in, in eastern Ladakh, and similar manner, they came in strength, and they tried to surprise our post, and more than that, they had definite plans to make incursion, and the post Yangtze is a very, very important post because dominate the whole area. And if you talk about Tawang per se, 1962 war, the opening shots were fired in this very particular area. And this is of strategic importance. So, if in nutshell, if I just as a sort of a overview, the Chinese always follow this pattern. They have always been trying to change the status quo, the LAC, and wherever they get opportunity, wherever they find there's a vulnerability, they will all exploit. And this
Okay.
is exactly what they did in Tawang and Yangtze area.
But why are we vulnerable here, General Dwivedi? Because we understand you explained to us with great clarity the Chinese strategy. You're also saying that the aggression has increased after Xi Jinping took over. But are you satisfied with the way India has responded? Each time we hear in an official statement that a befitting response was given by the Indian army. But to what extent, as somebody who has a larger understanding of the ground situation, are you satisfied with the way India has responded?
Well, the point is that we must understand how the ground troops work. You know, when we do the patrolling and when we also in our post, while we have the weapons, we are well armed. But when it comes to one-on-one, face off or clash or skirmish, generally in past number of years, no rounds have been fired. I mean, no live ammunition have been fired. That is point number one.
Yes.
Secondly, what is happening is that while we observe largely the protocols, but the Chinese do not observe any kind of protocol. And in fact, they rewrite the rules of the game almost on every event-to-event basis. Now, something interesting is that we signed 5 agreements, and 3 of them, that is in 2003, 2005, and 2013, very clearly define what should be the modality of patrolling, how many people should be in the patrol, what are the ways you challenge each other. But you see, in this particular instance, Chinese came in strength of 300. That means more than 2 companies, while the normal patrols are 15, 20, 30 people. So
Right.
therefore, point I'd like to make is that we generally are reacting while Chinese are able to, take the initiative in number of places for simple reason that they do not observe any rules of the game. And secondly, of course, our response is very firm. Is the same thing happened in Eastern Ladakh as well, and this has happened here as well. The point is that the Chinese are not able to achieve the aim. Like they came and did the incursion, but they could not hold the ground in Yangtze. They had to go back.
Yes.
And similarly, in most of the Ladakh areas also, they had to go back except Depsang, where they still not gone back. But in other areas, they had to negotiate on the table, and our response made sure that they are not able to achieve the aim, and they have their attempts are repeatedly foiled. So,
Right.
in military language, there are two terms. One is aggressor, one is defender. Largely, Chinese have been more on the proactive or offensive, and we have been giving a very resolute defensive response. And at places, we have also taken, proactive action, like Kailash range, where I was the battalion commander in that area.
Yes.
When Chinese came in, we went in, occupied the Kailash range, and which actually made Chinese to go back on the northern bank of Pangong. So these are all basically nitty-gritties, but point I like to make out is that one is the how you respond on the borders, how your military response, alongside also is your diplomatic, how you diplomatically handle, how you
Yes.
politically handle. But on the whole, I would say that response have been quite resolute, quite firm, because when we, evaluate the success or response, that is when you deny the enemy whatever aim the enemy had set for himself. In this case, the PLA had to go back, so obviously they could not achieve what they had intended to achieve.
General Dwivedi, and it's good to hear that from you when you say that their attempts were foiled, so they could not succeed in their mission as such, and to that extent, the Indian troops were successful. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, always a pleasure, and thank you very much.
Well, this issue, of course, has got political. Like I said, it resonated in Parliament. It's, in fact, the opposition party has taken on the government, raising questions on why the Parliament was not informed earlier. And every time there is a Chinese incursion, the government tries to downplay it. That's what the Chinese also are counting on. The PLA is continuing to salami slice Indian territory, is what the opposition is alleging. Let's listen in to important reactions.
प्रधानमंत्री क्यों चीन का नाम नहीं डरते हैं? लीजिए ना नाम आप। आपने तो उठकर जाकर हाथ मिलाया था चीन के लीडर से, देख लिया आप नतीजा क्या निकला। और खुद बीजेपी का एमपी कह रहा है अरुणाचल का कि आकर हमारे बहादुर सिपाहियों को मारा गया, वो अभी अस्पताल में है। और छठी बात यह है कि 15,000 फीट नीचे से ऊपर आ रहे हैं वो भारत की फौज पर हमला करने के लिए। तो प्रधानमंत्री को सबसे पहले पार्लियामेंट में डिस्कशन अलाउ करना चाहिए। सरकार की जिम्मेदारी है, स्पीकर पर, चेयरमैन पर मत डालिए।
The government, whatever government takes the decision, we stand by that. So regarding Arunachal issue also, we stand by government, but we must raise the issue. I think our party raised the issue, and discussion is going on.
The statement that was made did not really give information as to why there was this delay between the 9th till date. On the entire clashes took place on the 9th, and the delay in the defense minister telling the country about it. Secondly, it only came after a newspaper broke that story. So somewhere down the line, accountability that is being sought is not being honored by the treasury benches.
चाइनीज का घुसपैठ हुआ है, उसके बारे में भी हम आज चर्चा करना चाहते थे। इसीलिए हमने सभी अपोजिशन पार्टी के नेताओं ने मिलकर नोटिस भी दिया था, लेकिन वो चर्चा के लिए तैयार नहीं थे। एक स्टेटमेंट वो भी हमारे डिफेंस मिनिस्टर ने दिया और जल्दी चले गए।
Parliament was in session. It happened on 9th. Why we didn't know till 13th? Number one. Number two, why you are in a denial mode in Ghogra, Galwan about structures, semi-permanent structures. That kind of brazen denial, actually, it doesn't serve any purpose.
कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार है, नरेंद्र मोदी इसके प्रधानमंत्री है, और जब तक भारतीय जनता पार्टी की मोदी सरकार चल रही है, 1 इंच जमीन पर भी कोई कब्जा नहीं कर सकता। कल अपने सेना के जवानों ने जो 8 की देर रात को और 9 की सुबह को जो वीरता दिखाई है, मैं इसकी बुरी बुरी प्रशंसा करता हूं। इन्होंने घुसे हुए सभी लोगों को कुछ ही घंटों में वापस खदेड़ दिया और हमारी भूमि का रक्षण किया है।
भारत एकजुट हो गया है। एकजुट, एक सूत्र में बांटने का जो कार्य किए हैं, इसके वजह से भारत एकजुट है। और भारत एकजुट है तो ये तो साधारण सी बात है, जब एकजुट होता है तो ताकतवर बन जाता है। वो अंग्रेजी में भी कहते हैं ना, यूनाइटेड वी स्टैंड, डिवाइडेड वी फॉल।
मुझे ये कहना है कि ये मैकमोहन लाइन में ये बार बार इंसिडेंट होना इंडिया और चाइना का रिश्ता के लिए भी खराब है। और साथ में आई पर्सनली कंडेम द एक्ट ऑफ PLA। हमारा इंडियन आर्मी इसका जवाब देंगे, इसलिए हमारा जो रिलायबल सोर्सेज से जो खबर मिले हैं, तो इंडियन आर्मी एंड ITBP सारा सब वहाँ जुड़ गए हैं।
Well, why was cancellation of FCRA asked for? Because the money came from China. Chinese Communist Party gave money to the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, and then legally and technically they can't take money, and then that money was to be used for some research on China, Indo-China relationship, and we don't see any sort of money being used for that objective. I mean, this money was misused for many other objectives, so that's why they didn't wanted this session to go on smoothly, this day to go on smoothly in the parliament.
Yes, so like you just heard, the BJP is raking up the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation issue here. The face-off is between the government and the Congress party over the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, where Union Home Minister Amit Shah leveled some serious charges against the Congress party, with the Home Minister claiming that the Congress had disrupted Parliament as it wanted to avoid the question hour, since the issue of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation was also lined up. Now, reacting to these allegations, Congress has hit back at the Home Minister and the BJP, Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge claimed that Shah's remarks were just diversionary tactics and there is no relation whatsoever between the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation to the skirmish that took place along the line of actual control. Listen in.
मैं इतना स्पष्ट कहना चाहता हूं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार है, नरेंद्र मोदी इसके प्रधानमंत्री है और जब तक भारतीय जनता पार्टी की मोदी सरकार चल रही है, 1 इंच जमीन पर भी कोई कब्जा नहीं कर सकता। कल अपने सेना के जवानों ने जो 8 की देर रात को और 9 की सुबह को जो वीरता दिखाई है, मैं इसकी भूरी भूरी प्रशंसा करता हूं। इन्होंने घुसे हुए सभी लोगों को कुछ ही घंटों में वापस खदेड़ दिया और हमारी भूमि का रक्षण किया है।
राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन को अगर कोई पैसा दिया, वो इकोनॉमिक टाइज को कैसे इंप्रूव करना है उसकी स्टडी के लिए दिया। और फाउंडेशंस पूरे विश्व से लगातार अलग अलग जगह से पैसे लेती हैं, सार्वजनिक पटल पे होता है वो। लेकिन इंडिया फाउंडेशन और विवेकानंद फाउंडेशन के चीन से क्या संबंध है, उसका खुलासा कीजिए गृह मंत्री जी। भारतीय जनता पार्टी जब चीन की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी से मिलने 14 लोग गए तो क्या तय हुआ? यह तय हुआ कि दोनों विश्व की सबसे बड़ी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज हैं, इनका अलायंस होना चाहिए और एक ग्लोबल पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज अलायंस बनना चाहिए। हमने तो नहीं कहा साहब ने क्या एमओयू साइन करके आए। चीन की वो कौन कौन सी कंपनियां हैं जिन्होंने पीएम केयर फंड में पैसा दिया और क्यों दिया बताइए।